Good morning, learners. This is Miss Vanessa Parra, and today our topic will be about rounding to the nearest 10 or 100. Our standards will be use place value understanding to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or 100. So what are we learning today? Here we have our student objectives. Student objective number 1 is I can round 2 and 3-digit numbers to the nearest 10 or 100 using place value. Student objective number 2 is I can use a number line to help round. So here I provided an example of a number line that we will be using to round to the nearest 10 or 100. So what is rounding? So rounding means making a number simpler, but keeping its value close to what it is. So here I have an example that shows us about rounding. We have our number line and we have the number 42. The two digits that would be in the middle of 42 would be 40 and 50. So where would we place 42 on the number line? Close to 40, right? So that shows us that 42 rounds to 40 because it's closer to 40 than 50. So that gives us an example of what rounding is. But before we get into rounding, it's very important to understand place value. You all have been working on place value, so I'm pretty sure you understand, but let's give you an example. So place value can be defined as the number represented by a digit in a number on the basis of its position in the number. So what does that mean? So it means that every number has a place value. We have the number 4,528. The 8 is in the ones place, the 2 is in the tens place, the 5 in the hundreds place, and the 4 in the thousands place. So it's very important to understand place value because in order to understand rounding, we have to know place value and where each number is placed. So here we have rounding using place value. So in order to get into rounding, we have to know certain rules to do the process correctly. There's rules that we have to follow to do the rounding right. So rule number one, underline the digit in the rounding place. So remember that I said that place value, it's very important to know. It's gonna be asking us round to the nearest 10 or round to the nearest 100. We have to know where those numbers are. And we will be underlining that rounding place. Rule number 2, circle the digit to the right. So we will be circling that digit. Then follow the rounding rules. If the number that we circled is 4 or less, we let the number on the left rest. So if the number that we circled is 4 or less, the number that we underline, we let it rest. But if it's 5 or more, we add 1 more. So that means that the number that we circled, if it is 5 or more, that means that the number that we underline, we add 1 more. Rule number 4, change all the digits to the right of the rounding place to 0. So the number that we circled will be turning into a 0. Then number 5, all digits to the left remain the same. So here I provided a picture that shows us the rounding coaster, and it gives us a better understanding. So 4 or less round down. So that means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means that we will be rounding down. So 34, since the 4 is 4 or less, this number on the left, we let it rest, which means that we leave it alone, which becomes a 30. 52, the number on the right is 4 or less, which means that the 5, we let it rest, we leave it alone. So it rounds to 50. But if it's 5 or more, we round up. So we have here 87. 7 is 5 or more. So we add 8 to 1 more, which means that it rounds to 90. 35, because the 5 is 5 or more, we round this number 3, up. So it becomes 40. Here's an example for you guys that we will be looking at. So we have round 634 to the nearest 10. Remember about place value. Here I provided the rounding rules just so you guys remember. So where is the tens place in this number? Yes, it's the 3. So we underline the rounding place. It's the 3. Then we circle the digit to the right, which is the 4. And the 4 is going to help us determine if we round this number up or we let it rest. So because 4 is 4 or less, we leave the 3 alone and the 4 becomes a 0. So it rounds to 630. Okay, we have another example here. Round 634 to the nearest 100. Where is the 100's place in this number? Yes, the 6. Then we circle the number to the right. And the 3 is going to tell us if we let the 6 rest or we add 1 more. But because the 3 is 4 or less, we let it rest. So it becomes 600. Now we are going to round using a number line. There are 2 rules to know about when we round using the number line. Rule number 1, find 2 multiples of 10s the number lies between. So we have to know which 2 numbers does the number lie between. Then we round to the number that is nearest of the 2 numbers. So here we have an example. We have round 34 to the nearest 10. Which number is in the tens place? Yes, the 3. So let's create our number line. We have 30, 35, and 40. So where do we place the 34 in the number line? Yes, close to 35. So which 2 numbers are in the middle of 34, 30, 40? So remember, 4 is 4 or less. So we let this number rest, right? So where is 40 closer to 30? Or is 34 closer to 40? It's closer to 30, right? So 34 is closer to 30 than 40. So it rounds, so 34 rounds to 30. All right, great job, guys. You guys did such a wonderful job. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope this presentation helped you understand more on rounding to the nearest 10 or 100.